Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to this MBA Analytical session. So, if I'm audible, just drop a quick yes on the comment section. And till then, let me take a while to introduce myself. So, I am Dipinti, and I'm an incoming MBA candidate at Dartmouth DAC. And today, with us as my guest for this session is Ayush Rustagi, who is a current student at Columbia Business School, has landed a job in Google, and is soon to graduate actually. So yes, like I said, he is a current student at Columbia, and what we're going to do today is actually learn a lot from Ayush's background and how did he tackle and crack one of the most competitive business schools in the world. So, welcome to this session, Ayush, and I hope we have a
Thank you
great
so
conversation
much.
from it.
I hope students have a great session from our conversation.
Awesome. So, let's get started. And first of all, I will take you through the summary of the session and how it is going to progress from here. So, definitely, we'll delve deep into Ayush's background, and he is actually CFA certified. So, we are going to ask him a lot about his pre-MBA background and what was the motivation behind doing an MBA. And post that, we will definitely talk about his journey to selecting the business schools. What are the schools that he targeted? What are the schools that he actually managed to crack? And then we'll talk about Columbia Business School and his scholarship of 80,000 USD. So, how did he tackle the application and what were the important factors that he roped in while considering the business school and the scholarship as well? Post that, because Ayush is a current student and is all set to graduate this year. So we are also going to divide the session, and the later part of the session will be about his MBA experience at Columbia. So the different clubs at Columbia, the networking opportunities with the students there, his internship, and because most of his MBA actually coincided at a time when the pandemic was in full rage. So we are going to learn a lot from that. And yeah, so that's about that. And we'll take up all your questions at the end of the session. So, but then you can start writing your questions in the comment section from now, and we're going to take it up later. So, Ayush, let's start.
Sure.
I hope you're ready. Okay, great. So, as I mentioned, we just want to know you, Ayush, and what was your pre-MBA background? Just walk us through that.
Sure. Just to give a quick background, I'm from Delhi, grew up in Delhi, did my undergrad in business studies. Coincidentally, went to a college called CBS for my undergrad as well in Delhi. And post that, I worked for 5 years, split equally between investment banking and structured credit. All this while I did manage to finish my CFA in those 5 years. And then I felt the timing was right to go beyond what I've learned and to just take the next step in my career. And that's when I decided I need an MBA, and that's what brought me to Columbia Business School. I'm happy to answer if you have specific questions here, but this was a small journey before I had CBS.
Okay. That's really interesting. I mean, your undergrad school and your business school coincidentally have the same acronym.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, but I like it. I'm really proud and honored that I got to attend those both schools, both in India and the US.
Awesome. So let's talk about your, you were CFA certified, and basically, I think the year that you passed both of your levels in CFA, that's the same year you began your MBA as well, right? 2019.
Yeah, so I had cleared level two.
Okay.
For people who don't know, CFA has three levels. I cleared level two, I think, in 2017. Then, 2018, I was all focused on my MBA applications. 2019 was the year in which I gave level three, and I just cleared right before the school started. CFA was something when I completed my undergrad. I started with an investment banking job for UBS, and then I realized that yes, there's a lot of finance which I need to learn in order to excel in a career in finance, and that's how I also started doing CFA to learn more about different concepts and different facets of finance. At the same time, I did realize that in the financial industry, to go beyond a certain level in the hierarchy, you need an MBA. It's more of like ticking a checkbox. But I do feel that yes, MBA really adds value to your overall personality in terms of like soft skills you require to like manage businesses and like network with people, interact with people, manage a team. At the same time, when you are up in the organization, it's also about getting business. So you need that network. You need to know people in an industry. So the MBA was definitely something which was back of my head that I really want to do. But like in the initial few years, was focused on like completing my CFA. And the second half, and I felt that okay, I've gained the next amount of experience, which is also required in USB schools before you can present like a competitive application. So that was the journey in terms of like focusing on the finance part first, gaining the relevant amount of experience, and then aiming for an MBA from a USB school.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So I mean, you found your motivator to do an MBA, of course. Like you
Yeah,
said, you
yeah,
completed all the three levels of CFA. In the
yeah,
year 2019, you had been completely done with that.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so the next journey would have been, of course, the GMAT, where you had a very stellar score. You
yeah.
scored 760. And then comes I would say, the big task of shortlisting the business schools that actually
Yes,
could match
yes.
with your goals. So, how did you do that?
Yeah. So I do feel that like in the entire process, the most difficult part is getting a good score in GMAT. Once that was done, I was like really relaxed and I thought like, okay, it will be a smooth ride, but it's not as smooth as one feels. The first step I would say was about like reaching out to different consultants, talking to them, evaluating your profile in general. So I think I spoke to a bunch of consultants. I spoke to consultants in Delhi. I spoke to consultants in Mumbai. I reached out to a few consultants based out of the US. One thing which I noticed was that like Indian consultants are very pessimist. They will discourage you a lot to like apply to top B schools, whereas US consultants are fairly optimistic. So you need to find the right balance of what schools you should apply to, what schools really help you achieve your goals. I think so. You need that clarity as well. What you really want to do in after an MBA and what sort of resources are available in the schools you are trying to apply to. For me, it was very clear that like it was not that I want to like change the industry I'm working in. I wanted to pursue my career in finance, so I was definitely inclined applying to like all the schools which have a great finance curriculum. At the same time, I was very clear that I want to like keep the option of coming back to India open. So I only wanted to like apply to schools which are like very well reputed in India as well. Because otherwise, if you like go to a school which is not that popular and then you have to come back, then it's like you're starting from square one. So that's how like I was very clear that I want to like apply to top schools in the US itself because like you shell out a lot of money in order to gain that experience. Specifically talking about round one, I would say like most of the consultants did advise me to like follow a strategy of like just choosing like two dream schools, two realistic school, and one like which is like easily achievable. I
I think
felt like
that's the funda that they follow everybody. I mean,
oh
even like
yeah,
the consultants that I talk to, it's the same: two this, and one this. So there's this permutation and combination that goes on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think I sort of agree with them. But I felt that like I had a decent amount of score. I had good work ex, and I felt like I have the best opportunity to like apply to my target schools in round one. There is no rationale which has been given that okay round two is difficult than round one, but like in my head it was like okay if this is the school I really want to go, then I should apply in round one. I really wanted to apply to five schools. I was working back then as well, so it became difficult to like apply to five schools given like all the deadlines are in September, October. So I ended up applying to four schools: Harvard, Wharton, Columbia, Booth. I think all the consultants suggested me to like apply to these schools because they are Wharton, Booth, Columbia are like, of course, very finance heavy, and they have like a great finance cohort and like the opportunities you get. Howard is like the name is enough. Like you don't really need a justification. Why did you apply to Howard? So that was my approach. I applied to 4 schools in round one. Was fortunate enough to get through Columbia. I only got through Columbia in round one, and then I was happy. I was really happy, and I decided to like take up with both hands and didn't apply to any schools after that.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to take up an audience question here, which I
Sure.
find that it is quite relevant to our context of what we are discussing, because we were talking about business school application. So there's a question by Ray that how did you find your investment banking job? Like, how did it make you stand out in your applications while you were applying to business schools?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I would say I had experience of 5 years before school, so it was 2.5 years or 3 years of investment banking, and 2 years of private credit or structured credit investments in India. I felt like my experience was quite unique in a way that like I had looked at both equity side of the capital and debt side of the capital. So it's more about, to answer your question, I think it's more about what you really want to achieve in life. What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? If you have clarity on that aspect, I think you can always tie in any experience you have, be it like investment banking or like if you're working for a startup. So I would say, because what B schools are looking for, they ask you like, all B schools have one simple question: what are your short-term, long-term goals, and how would an MBA help you achieve that? What they're basically trying to ask you is that, what are your goals? What have you done up till now? Probably that experience has helped you gain XYZ. But now, in order to move to like your short-term goal, you need ABC skills as well, and that's why you need an MBA. So to like tackle that question clearly, that okay, there is a knowledge gap which you need to bridge, and MBA is something which will help you bridge that. You need to highlight that gap. You need to be very clear about your goals. Your goals should be achievable. And that's how you tie in the entire story. That, okay, why an MBA is really required and why I feel like this business school will really help me achieve my goal.
That's a great answer.
And I feel like it's not about the past experience. I think the way to stand out, it's more about your goals. If you say, for example, if someone wants to say that I want to do investment banking post MBA, there would be like 200 applicants who want to do investment banking post MBA. What's the motivation? Why you want to do it? How can you stand out? You can stand out by saying that, okay, I want to like specialize in industry. For example, I want to like specialize in real estate. I want to do real estate banking. Or you can be like as specific as possible. Like I want to like do investments in hotels. So it's about, I think it's more about like how you focus on your short term, long term goals, how you personalize them, and basis that you like tie in your past experience, how that has helped you to like move towards that goal. But there is something which is required even more to like reach your short term goal and eventually long term goal.
Makes sense. That was a great answer, and as Ayush said, it all boils down to your goals. Because even if I remember, it's so investment banking, consulting. These are like very, I would say, standard short term and
Yeah.
long term goals. And mostly, people just come, and I think one of the consultants was telling me that 90% of Indians, they just come and say, I want to go into management consulting. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, management consulting, it's first of all, it's a huge area, as Ayush
Yeah.
mentioned, so it's investment banking. But how does your background and experience figure into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So let's move back to our questionnaire. So, okay, so you applied to 4 schools in round one, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And okay, so and you got an admit from Columbia with a
Yep.
scholarship of $80,000, right? So was there
Yes.
anything? So how would you say that, was there anything different among these applications, or did you do anything differently?
Not much.
Hmm.
I would say that there are people who follow like different strategies for different schools. They change their stories specific to each school. I didn't do that. The basic crux of the story was the same. My short-term, long-term goals were same for all the schools. The part I customized was how that each of the school can really help me achieve my goal. Having said that, I feel like all MBA applications are a black box. You don't really know what clicks with the outcomes. I don't know what clicked with Columbia. Uh, so I think the main part is like getting an interview invite. I think once you have an interview invite, then it's about presenting your case, validating what you have said in your essays, and then it's basically in your own hands whether you make it to that particular class or not. So I don't know why I couldn't really get that opportunity for other schools, but I was happy that I got an interview invite from Columbia, and I knew back then that okay, this is the only opportunity I have, and I have to make full use of it. Eventually, luckily enough, I was able to get an admit, and they were generous enough to like offer me merit scholarship. So people who don't know, USB schools offers two types of scholarships: merit scholarships and need-based scholarships. For merit scholarships, you don't need to do anything, at least for CBS, or at least for, I think, for all these four schools, you don't need to do anything. You just, when you're submitting an application, probably right, you just take a checkbox that yes, you want to be eligible for a merit-based scholarship, and that's how they're granted. For, of course, for need-based scholarship, you need to apply once you've got an admit, and then like you submit your income proof, family income proof, and basis that the college will decide or the school will decide if they really want to like give you some scholarship. So even for merit-based scholarship, I feel like I don't know honestly, like what are the parameters basis which they're given, but like seeing a sample of students at CBS, I feel like GMAT score has something to do with it. So like if you have a decent enough or a high enough GMAT score, I think there is some likelihood that you will get some scholarship. I feel like Columbia in general is like a very generous school. I think most of the Indians have received some amount of scholarship while coming here.
That's actually right, because even I have seen that if you take a sample size of students, and then students with who tend to have higher GMAT scores, say 750 or above, generally the scholarship amount tends to be higher in that
Yeah,
case.
yeah. It's not a proven fact. This is something which you just like see in your circle, and then you like try to draw results from that. But it in some ways it does make sense, because like what are the parameter you have like compare
Yeah.
people who have completely different experience and completely different backgrounds. So it does make sense in some respect.
Exactly. Otherwise, if you come from a very niche background, like
Yeah,
maybe I saw someone from Indonesia who had started his own venture there, and he got
yeah.
in on full ride. So yeah, that's
Oh
an
yeah,
entire
yeah.
different story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that you will find like some people who have like crazy backgrounds and like very unique backgrounds, come from a very niche expertise area. So yeah, yeah, they stand out. So yeah,
Exactly. Okay. So let's talk about Columbia. So right now you are
sure.
in school and you are gonna graduate this year. So
Yeah,
so so Columbia Business School, I think, like you mentioned to us already, that it was one of the factors for choosing these four business schools. It's definitely known for its diverse cohort and the expertise in finance. So how has your experience been in the business school
Uh, in a nutshell, it
holistically?
has, yeah, in a nutshell, I would say it has been terrific. It has been much better than what I expected it to be. Because coming in here, I expected the school to be like an overtly competitive place. And I felt like the class would not be as collaborative, given that we are based out of New York. For example, if I compare it to the school like Tuck, I felt like the class would be more inclusive, because like everyone is on campus in a school like Tuck. But to my pleasant surprise, I felt like the community here is extremely collaborative. it's not competitive at all. Like even if it's competitive, it's there in the right spirit. And everyone is willing to help you out. There are ample amount of resources available to like figure out what you really want to do. If you're clear what you really want to do, then you know like whom to reach and what to like make use of the resources available. If even if you're not clear what you really want to do, then there are enough people from diverse backgrounds that can like help you shape your decisions. I felt like there was support available primarily at three levels, starting with students, your peers, who I felt like were extremely helpful in terms of like helping you out, be it academics, be in terms of like connecting you to people in their network. Second, I felt like second years who act as peer advisors to first year students in terms of like guiding them through career search, sharing what worked for them, what didn't work for them, how to write like thank you, like very basic things like starting write how to write emails, networking emails, thank you notes, and then how to manage coffee chats, and of course then the interview process. Faculty, I think faculty here is extremely approachable. Like you can reach out to anyone and they would be like happy to like set up time with you and probably like connect you to their network as well. And then you have like the career management center, which really manages firms which are coming on campus, and then manages the entire process. Also, I want to specifically mention clubs. I feel like clubs play a very important role in terms of shaping your MBA experience. In terms of like, you get to network with a lot of people, you get to meet a lot of people who have like similar goals and aspirations. At the same time, it's also a great opportunity for you to like network with alumni, because a lot of clubs invite speakers on campus, and at the same time, there are a lot of career opportunities which are accessible only through clubs. So I think overall, I felt like all the clubs are fairly active at CBS. So irrespective of what club you're a part of, you would be like gaining a lot of that experience as well. And at the same time, I felt like the support I got and how collaborative the community was overall, it was just an amazing experience.
Okay, so you talked about clubs, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
drive the next question more on that. So I
sure.
think you are so if you could tell us what are the clubs that you currently are a part of,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how enriching have they been in your entire
yeah,
learning experience? You did talk about the networking experience, of course. Now,
yeah.
besides that, did they provide you with other opportunities too?
Yeah. So like at Columbia, like I have been part of like a lot of clubs. So you can join a number of clubs. It's totally up to you, like how you manage your time and like how active you want to be in an next club. But I was on board of three clubs: Private Equity Club, South Asia Business Association, and Hospitality and Travel Association. So I was on board for three clubs. I would say. That's one thing that you're part of a club. Then it's more about, okay, you want to like network with people and you want to like listen into speakers. Through these clubs you also get access to like some of the job postings which are like directly posted on these clubs websites, or Slack channel. So we use a platform called Slack for like job postings and all. Apart from that, I feel like if you're actively involved in that club or you like take a leadership position in that club, it really helps you to like form deeper bonds with people from your cohort. I think to know people outside your classroom, it's really important that you are on a leadership position with any club of your choice. For that matter, it can be a wine club also. Like it's about what are your interests, what are you passionate about, what do you want to gain out of that experience. So getting an opportunity to like know as many people as you can is something which I learned, that like how valuable it can be is something which I realized at CBS, because there's like so much to learn from people around you. So like having that opportunity to like work with them, organize events, learn about their experiences is something which really adds value to your experience also. And secondly, I feel like apart from like organizing events, it's also about like helping you prepare for job interviews. For example, like investment banking club, management consulting club, and even PE club for that instance. They really help you prepare for the job process. There are people who will tell you about their interview experience, the kind of questions which are asked, and for example, like if you need some amount of training to like run models and all, so like those trainings are also organized by clubs. So I think it's a very holistic experience. Like you get to like improve your technical skills by being part of these clubs, and B, that you like get to meet people and to work with them and learn from them is also an amazing part. And I've just focused a lot more on like clubs which are on career focused, but there are like a lot of fun clubs which can be again a great way to like form friendships and like pursue interests which you are really passionate about.
Absolutely. And do you get time to say enroll in a lot of clubs? I think
See,
that's a
when you join, in order to avoid FOMO, you end up signing for 10 clubs. But honestly, like it's up to you. Like how much. I think it's also a function of how much time are you like really spending on recruiting. There are people who like do their internship and they get a full-time offer, so like they're like literally free for the second year, so like they can focus a lot more on like participating in clubs. It's a function of time, like how well you are able to manage time, and how well you are able to like deal with the feeling of FOMO. That if you don't have FOMO, it's fair enough. But yeah, in the beginning, like when you enter school, it's like, oh, I want to do like 15 different things, and you like sign up for everything. But eventually, you will be restricted to what you are really passionate about and what you really want to do.
absolutely. Okay. So we talked about your experience and the clubs, of course, which are really important as you mentioned. So
Yeah,
let's talk about one of the big factors that we I think touched base on when we were talking earlier. So Ayush, I think you entered business school in August and in
yeah,
2019, and in March 2020, everything in the world came to a standstill.
yeah,
So let's
yeah.
talk about that. The pandemic, people had a lot of conceptions on that. I would say, some misconceptions. Some were, of course, true. And you never know when a situation like that's going to turn up again, right? So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about how did you navigate your entire MBA experience throughout the pandemic, one, and was Columbia Business School really helpful in that?
Sure. I would say that terrible times. I think it was a terrible time for everyone. You probably feel that like you are the unfortunate ones who had to like go through that experience, because we just started in August and like after 7-8 months, everything went virtual. Those were uncertain times. Our classes, at least for the second half of spring term, were fully online. All our internships were online. I would say, like compared to other schools, Columbia Business School did a great job of at least following a hybrid model for the fall term and spring term for the following year. So when I say hybrid, it was about like our entire cohort was divided into 3 batches, and each batch got to visit campus on a given day. Not the best way, not the kind of MBA I expected that to be, not what I had seen in my first semester, but I felt like it was the best which could have been done. So yes, Columbia did a great job of not being fully online in fall 2020. So kudos to CBS for that. Secondly, I felt like compared to other cities in the world, we were fortunate enough that like situation in New York did improve in months of say like September, October, November. So yes, not many people were coming on campus, but at the same time, we used to have a lot of social gatherings where we would just meet in a park or we just meet in an open space. So yes, there were opportunities to like meet people in general, which I felt would not have been possible in like some of the cities which were struggling with COVID at that point in time. Additionally, I felt like as a cohort, we did a great job to like stay together during those tough times. All the clusters used to have like virtual hangouts and like virtual drinking sessions, and we used to do like host of activities, like just being sure that we are in touch with people and we are taking care of one another. So I felt like I don't think that there was like a more positive or a great way to like to would have dealt with the kind of situation, how serious the situation was, and I think we have done a commendable job to like overcome that period. But having said that, yes, it was nowhere close to like a full 2 years of in-person experience.
So tell us, you interned at a private equity firm at New York.
Yeah.
So did the pandemic in any way affect your internship or your job search opportunities?
It did in a way because so like for people who do banking and consulting, most of the internships are over by Feb. So those people were fairly sorted. It's just that their internships were fully virtual, which is like a different problem altogether. Me on the other hand, I was looking at corporate development roles. I was looking at like strategic finance roles, and I was looking at private equity. Those kind of internship opportunities come just in time. So they actually start from Feb, March, April onwards. And in March, the pandemic started. So there were, I would say, plethora of firms who were not keen to hire because of the uncertainty. I was actually in talks with a few other firms who I was like really keen to intern with, but the interns didn't materialize because of the pandemic. So I would say yes, those were difficult times. And I felt like that's where CBS stepped in, the Career Management Center stepped in, the alumni stepped in, and the club stepped in. And it did open up a lot of opportunities for students who didn't have internship, say in March. I was fortunate enough to get an internship with a private equity firm. But yeah, those were difficult times, and I felt like we really needed a support system. Like Columbia did stand out in a way that they reached that alumni to like see if they can like do something for students, given how uncertain the situation was, and accordingly, I think everyone eventually did get an internship. So it was not like there were people who couldn't weren't able to get an internship, but yeah, the overall process became much more difficult because of the pandemic.
Okay, okay. And so let's talk about your internship now that we have talked
Yeah.
about the pandemic. So how was it? I mean, would you say it was very beneficial for your, the ultimate goal that you were going to go into, the
Yeah.
opportunities, the networking, was it really beneficial?
Yeah. I would say like see private equities like they're like very small firms, so you're like dealing with like only like five, six or like I was interning with a small fund. Like if you're like interning with like a decent fund, like at max you're like interacting with 6 to 10 people. Uh, so it was tough because specifically when you're like starting something new, like you really want to like be in the office and like meet people. That's how you start your relationship. And even from a learning perspective, I feel like the informal challenge of communication where you are just out on the floor and you like end up discussing random topics. Those things were missing because every time you have a problem or every time you need to discuss something, you like drop a message to your senior and then you set up a call. So then it's like more formal. So I felt from a relationship standpoint, from learning standpoint, specifically when you're starting something new, it's difficult through a virtual channel. But having said that, I was working directly with the founder, so overall it was a great experience in terms of just learning something new and really understanding how he thought about businesses and how he thinks about what's happening in the industry right now and how things will shape up in the future. At the same time, I felt like I didn't have a private equity background. I had only worked in India before school. So like learning about how the US market works was an enriching experience for me overall.
Okay, okay. And so that was your internship, and you definitely learned a lot from that, from
Yeah.
your entire 2 years. And now you have landed a job in Google. So,
Yes.
tell us about it. I mean, what's the job about, and how were there factors that really helped you get this particular role?
Yeah. So I'm joining the cloud team at Google in a strategic finance role. I would say that so the fall of 2020 was again spent recruiting. because it's very difficult. Who's like just want to like say out to people who have private equity aspirations. It's like very difficult to get like a full-time job in PE VC in the US for an international. So I was anyways open to like exploring more strategic roles in finance as well. And that's how the opportunity at Google came in. I would again say that I think it was an off-campus process. Google was not really on campus, but they were looking to hire MBA students. So I would say being a Columbia MBA student did really help because it really helps you to stand out from a pool of MBA applicants who are applying for that particular position. Second, I felt like my experience in finance. It was a finance role. I have a finance background. I had interned in the US, so I had some knowledge about like, okay, how the financial markets work here. And then the courses I have taken at CBS, there are ample amount of courses at CBS which like really dig deep into finance. And I think one great thing about Columbia is, which I'm sure like other top B schools also do, is that they follow like a case-based method. You're doing a case, and when you are about to like present a case in the next class, CEO or some CXO from that company will show up. So then literally you're presenting your case or your thoughts or your inputs to the CEO, CXO of the company. So the kind of experience is amazing, and you learn a lot from such kind of experiences. So definitely, I think that played a part. And third, I would say, given I really didn't have a tech background before this, and it's sort of like, of course, Google is like a giant in the tech space, so you did need some technical knowledge to ace the interviews, and that's how you tap into your network. There are people who have technical backgrounds. There is a technology club at CBS. You reach out to them, you sit with them, they help you prepare for your interviews. So I think three things: the reputation of the school, my background, the knowledge I gained at CBS, and finally, people I tapped into to like help me prepare for the interviews were the key ingredients that really helped me to get this job.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. And you're all set to graduate, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I'm almost done. Like I will be graduating in August, and I start in August as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. So it's a new venture, and you've completed 2 years of enormous learning experience. So thank you for sharing all of that with us, Ayush. And I think audience does have a ton of questions for you. So now that I'm done with my questions and you are done with your story, so let's kind of head on to those questions, and we'll
Sure.
take them all one by one. We'll just avoid the questions that are repeated or that you already have answered,
Sure.
so
Sure.
people can go back and look at that. So let's start with Soham's question. So I think you just briefly touched on that, but it would be great if you could give a little bit of, I would say that depth into that. So what was your role at UBS post graduation? So what was the kind of work that you did?
Okay, so UBS was post my undergrad. I was part of their investment banking team. I was part of their back office investment banking team that sits out of Hyderabad. And my role was supporting investment banking teams based out of New York, London, and Hong Kong offices. Did that for 1 year, and then I moved to KPMG. Again, I was part of their M&A practice. Did that for 2 years, and after that, I spent 2 years at Avendus, and I was doing structured credit at Avendus. So these were my 5 years before school, and as highlighted earlier, I did also finish my CFA during this time period.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. So I hope Soham, we answered your question. And then Aditi has a question, which is very interesting actually, because I think some people may find it confusing. So, which one to go for first? Is it an MBA or a CFA?
Uh, I would say that like if you have completed your undergrad, and if your goal is to like really go for an MBA from a US school, you literally have 5 years with you. So I would say that you start your CFA first, because you've completed your undergrad, then you're like working. It's manageable to like complete a CFA while you are working, and again, it can be something which helps you stand out in your MBA applications as well. So like in the period you are gaining your 5 years of experience, because like average work experience for any class at top USB school is around 4 to 5 years. Applying from India, I would say that I haven't seen anyone who has less than 4 years of work experience in my cohort. So you do have 4 or 5 years. I would say start with CFA first. If you're really interested in it, like just don't do it for the sake of it. If you are keen to learn about finance, then yes, start with CFA, and then probably pursue your MBA. But like if you're targeting a school like say ISB or you're like targeting IIMs, then like you can like go there like within 2 years itself. So then it's a different question altogether.
Okay. Yeah, that really makes sense. And I think we answered Ablay's question also. So, which was, how CFA helped you overall to get admitted, or did it help you in getting a scholarship?
I don't think CFA has anything to do with the scholarship.
So it may
If
have been
it
a booster, right, to your application. I mean, a certification
Well,
like that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Possible. Like, yes. I would say that, like, if I remember correctly, Wharton does have a question around are you a CFA charter holder? So clearly, they consider it as an important parameter or something to like evaluate profiles. It does help if there are like two people from exactly same background and someone has a CFA and CFA is a US based certification, so it does really help you. And apart from that, I think the most beneficial thing about CFA is it really helps you to clear out your finance classes at CBS or like at any school. So if you're good with like finance, it really helps you to like spend more time like doing other stuff at school. So I would say that's an indirect benefit you get after completing a
Yeah,
CFA.
which we were discussing is gonna be a problem for me because I don't know anything about that. So I hope to learn, of course, in the business
Of
school, but it
course, I
really helps.
think, yeah. You learn a lot, and those are like just basics of finance, which I think everyone should know. And I honestly feel like doing finance is like one of the best experiences at school because there are like so many people like who are in the same boat, and like the sessions you have like sitting together, studying together,
Right.
and like solving problems is again part of your overall MBA experience.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so let's move on to the next, I would say, the line of questioning. So there are some questions about the application primarily. So
Sure.
Roshan here has a question that whether you can share your application timeline. So Columbia has an early decision round also, right? So did you apply
Yes.
for that, and what was the timeline that you followed?
Sure. Yes, I applied through early decision, but I applied on the last date of the deadline. So the way it works at Columbia is that you have two kinds of decision process: early decision and regular decision. Um, During my year, I think the deadline was 3rd October. Uh, Early decision applicants can like really submit their application like any time before 3rd October. Like I think you can even submit your application as early as like August or September. I don't know when the applications open up, but like you can submit your application fairly early. And after that, I think they take 6 weeks to like complete the overall result. I think they take 2 weeks to evaluate your application and give you an interview invite. If you get an interview invite, you have like 2 weeks to schedule an interview and have your interview done. And once your interview is done, then they take another 2 weeks to like take a final decision. So within 6 week deadline or 6 week timeline, you would have your final result, whether you are getting into Columbia or not. So suppose if you like apply in first week of August, you would know by mid-September that you're going to CBS. Whereas other schools have their deadlines in September. I applied on the last date of the deadline under early decision. For me, the thought process was I want to keep my options open. If I, the way I thought about this was if I apply on 3rd October, probably I would get to know about my result end of October, last week of October. I got to know about my result on 19th October. I remember the date. Then you have 2 weeks, so you get done with the interview. So basically, I had time till end of November to figure out whether I want to go to Columbia or not. By that time, I would know, okay, from how many schools I've got my interview invite, where do I stand, what are my chances, what is the probability I would get into some other school. I wanted to have that optionality. Hence, I applied on the last date. If you are 100% certain that yes, Columbia is your top school, I would say apply as early as possible. If not, and you still feel Columbia is a great school, then I would say follow my strategy, which is somewhere in the middle. That you apply on the last date, but you apply on the early decision. But if it's something which is like there are other schools which take priority over CBS, then I would say just apply on a regular decision.
Okay. And we have a similar question along the applications also. So, so how did you, I mean, how did you overcome the challenge of applying from overrepresented population? And I think you had two factors like high GMAT and CFA. But
Yeah.
besides that, did you also do anything to sort of elevate your profile?
I would say that GMAT surely helps. I think specifically applying to M7 schools, I would say that you need. I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but I think this is basis what I have seen GMAT scores at CBS that you need a score of around 730. Higher it is, the better. But like you need to be in that range because there are people who would have similar background and would have a score higher than you. Unless you come like from a crazy background, you have your own venture, and then you can like justify your low GMAT score. So yes, you need a high GMAT score. I think that surely helped. Being a CFA did help. And then the extracurriculars, I had been working with an NGO during like my 5 years as well. I was associated with Jeff Foot. This is something which is like what you do beyond work. It's like you could be like active in sports, or you could be active in some other things. So I think that's a key aspect as well of your application. That who are you beyond just a professional your goals and aspirations and your professional work. So being an all-rounder really helps because like when you are at school, it's not just they want you to excel at academics, they want you to excel at everything which happens on campus. That was other thing. And then I feel like it's about the goals, how you really tie in the story. I think for me, the most important part of your application is what's your story. How you are able to highlight that, yes, as I mentioned earlier, that there is a knowledge gap. I have reached a certain level, but to like move from point A to point B, I need an MBA and I need to be at that school. And how that school will help me achieve that goal is something, if you are like able to communicate that in a seamless way, I think you're sorted. These are like getting a high GMAT score is like more about like a hygiene check that yes, you are there. What's the next critical thing is about how seamlessly you tell your story, how like there shouldn't be any loopholes. You should seem genuine. It should be your story. It shouldn't be generic. If there are like 5 people like you, then probably that term would be like, okay, we have many applications like this candidate. Why should we consider him or her? So I think focusing on your story is really important.
Okay. So let's talk about the interview because I can see a few questions here about the Columbia interview.
Yeah.
So there's a question from Sneha Sheesh, which asks whether the interviewer, the panel was like, I think there's an interviewer only. Okay, so did the interviewer focus on your finance knowledge or was it about your personality? So before you answer, I would also like to throw in some context
Sure.
here. I think from what I have seen, maximum business school interviews in the US, right? I'm talking about in the US. So they do not, they're not bothered about how much, say, knowledge you have on your field. They will definitely, throw in some questions that, can you explain your work to say, in layman terms, the work that you do. But they're not going to be very industry specific and say you are from tech. They're not going to start asking you some, heavy tech questions. And they sort of want to see how well you have worked and the experience that you have, behavioral questions based on how well you have, say, tackled situations. So, yeah, Ayush, just go ahead.
Yeah, I think I strongly echo what you said. These are not technical interviews, these are not job interviews. They are just trying to know you as a person. So, again, my interview was with an alumni. I think Columbia only does alumni interviews in India. And it was more about knowing me, knowing my journey. The questions which were about my prior experience was knowing about, okay, what work were you doing? Didn't like really dwell deep into okay the kind of deals I've done. It was more about why I was doing that, and it was again more about goals. Why you want to do an MBA? Why you want to do it in the US? Why Columbia? So some of the questions which you have already answered in your application, and then the behavioral part of the question in terms of like your leadership skills or times where you have tackled a complex situation or you have tackled a conflict. It's more of a conversation than an interview. At least my interview really made me feel like we're just having a conversation. We are discussing what I have done, what are my goals, and also like yes, he did dig deep into like what are my goals and like what I really know about it. It shouldn't come across that okay, yes, I want to like do investment banking, but if they like ask you a question like okay, how is banking different in the US than in India, and you don't have an answer to that. So like just being thorough with your story, I think is important, and then it's more of a conversation and how ably you are able to communicate your story and your journey and why and in music why it is important. That's about it.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Okay, so I see a question specifically about CBS and Ayush, because you may have studied your cohort and the kind of job roles that they got into as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So Keval here wants to know whether CBS is also good for someone who wants to move into product management or a tech-based role specifically.
Yes, I would say that again, that was not my field of expertise, or that was not an area I was focusing on. But I do have a few friends who intern as product managers or who are going full time in a product manager role. You can probably reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect you with them. So I think Columbia has a club which is like very active in the tech space, and there are opportunities. All your big tech companies, Facebook, Amazon, Google, I don't think Microsoft, but like all your major tech firms come on campus and they do offer product management roles. So yes, there's definitely an opportunity, and yes, I'm assuming the tech club is doing organizing workshops, inviting speakers that can help you excel in that field. At the same time, there are a few classes at CBS which focus specifically on building experience on the product management side. So I would say that yes, there are opportunities, there are resources available. But again, this was not something which I was really pursuing at CBS, so may not be the best person to comment on it.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll take a couple of questions more, and because I can see that the questions are almost repetitive now. So let's take up this question by Bala. Okay, so how difficult is it for someone to get into investment banking if he or she doesn't have any financial experience pre MBA? And in that case, how handy is the CFA?
I would say that getting investment banking, like Columbia is a great school if you want to do investment banking post MBA. It's such a structured, seamless process here. Like the club is so active that like they prepare you for anything and everything. And it's a seamless process. Firms come on campus, they will do their presentations, and then it's like a structured process. You will have like coffee chats, and basis coffee chats, you will get your interview invite for internships. You have your interviews on campus. If you get an internship, great. You intern at the bank. If you're good enough, you get a full time job. And the club supports you at every level, from like helping you prepare for those kind of interviews, the kind of questions that are asked for coffee chats, and literally all investment banks are on campus. So I would say that yes, I think like it's a great opportunity. It's a great infrastructure which CBS has in place to help you go into investment banking. How much financial work experience? As per my knowledge, banks are not really keen. Like, of course, they will test you in interviews, like how much, like they will ask you a few technical questions. But it's not like they will ask you on day one. So you have your first semester, if you're like really passionate about finance, that like you would be taking classes on accounting, CFA, that you would be able to answer those questions. At the same time, I feel like if you're really fascinated towards finance, then having CFA helps, because like it just really validates that yes, you are committed to that field, and it will in general make your interview process relatively easy, or it will help you stand out compared to others, because you would have much more knowledge compared to your peers.
Okay. Okay. Fine. And let's take up the last question, which is also in similar lines by Drishti. Okay.
Okay. I would say yes, there are opportunities. There are clubs which focus on sustainable finance and social impact space, and similar industries in general. I think one of the star professors at CBS, Bruce Usher, focuses a lot on this topic. So I think he does take at least like 3 4 different classes at CBS, which can be really helpful. He's very well connected in the industry, so you have opportunity to like work with him, and then like probably he can introduce you to like his network as well. And then there's club. Again, not my area of expertise. There's so much going on at campus that like you really had to be like focused on like what you really want to achieve. But having said that, yes, there are a number of students who are focused on this industry, and I'm like happy to connect you with one of them. One thing which I want to like highlight based on this question is that like there is a perception that yes, Columbia is a very finance heavy school. um, yes, there are a lot of classes which focus on finance, but at the same time, there are ample amount of electives which can like help you excel in any field whatsoever, be it tech, marketing, strategy, consulting. I think more than 100 people are going into consulting from CBS. This is equivalent of the number of people going into banking. So that it's a diverse cohort. There are people from different backgrounds. There are people who are going as product managers to Amazon, Google. There are people who are joining as like marketing or in strategy roles at a company like TikTok, for example. So you do really meet people who have different backgrounds, and it's more about like being active in those kind of clubs and networking with those kind of people to like really hone your skills and then land up internship or a job in those kind of organizations and industries.
Right. That was an awesome point, Ayush. I think most often we have this preconception that a school is just good enough for a particular kind of field because we have just heard of it from maybe from the start. But then nowadays, I see the placement statistics do speak for themselves. I mean,
For
like you
sure.
said, equal number of people going to consulting, people going to tech, and a lot of other diverse roles. I think healthcare is one industry where
Oh
primarily
yeah,
people are going into.
absolutely, absolutely. I would say like we are a batch of like 700 students. Out of that, I think like only 200 students who would have like a very finance focused goals, aspirations, and background. The rest of the class, they come from like all sorts of backgrounds. So it's definitely diverse, and
Right.
there are ample amount of opportunities. Even if, see, you have to realize that even if things are not coming on campus, the fact that you are part of an esteemed institute like Columbia Business School, the moment you reach out to someone, he or she would realize that okay, someone from Columbia Business School has reached out to me, so they will take out time to talk to you. So then it's about your own journey. So you have to realize that you just don't rely on the school to land you an internship, to land you a job. You reach out to people, you set up coffee chats, you have conversations, you do things like you do in-semester internships, and you do all sort of things to like really gain experience while you're studying at CBS, so that which can help you to like get jobs in the area where you really want to go. So that's something which one should always keep in mind, that there are always opportunities that you can pursue yourself rather than just relying on the school itself.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, we had a great session, and we learned a lot from Ayush, and he shared a lot of insights into his application, Columbia in general, and I would say that the entire MBA journey. So yeah, it was a great session, Ayush. Thank you first of all for taking the time to answer all the questions patiently. And before we wind up, so I'd just like to mention that we have three upcoming sessions which are equally interesting. So we have the standard GMAT sessions. So we have a GMAT strategy webinar on 12th June, and we have a GMAT geometry webinar on 13th June, which are all live sessions. And then on 16th June, we have a very good session because I see in the comment section a lot of people had this question that if I have a low GPA in the undergrad, will it impact my application a lot? So we do have a session on that on 16th by a Wharton alumnus. So we'll add all the links in the comment section and you can register and save your spot today itself. Okay. So having said that, it was a great session. Thank you all for tuning in, for watching, and I hope that you learned a lot from the session. I did.
Thank you so much for having me. I really had a great time, and I really hope the session was helpful. If you feel that I can be of help, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to help.
Awesome. Okay then. So have a good day, have a good night, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Dipniti.